All right. Thank you for joining us today. We're here with a very, very outstanding guest. I know you're going to enjoy it in this podcast today, and I'm excited about this young man that's here. Pastor, why you call him a young man? Because I'm much older than him, and I knew him a long time ago. But I want to welcome Bishop Harry Williams here to our podcast today, and I'm telling you, you're going to really enjoy this today, and this is a great delight for me. Okay, Bishop Harry Williams, welcome to our podcast today, and just kind of introduce yourself to everybody, man.
Thank you. I'm not too much older than you, Pastor, just about a couple of years. You're older than me by a couple of years. But I'm Bishop Harry Williams. I'm born and raised here in Jacksonville, Florida, on the east side of town, the youngest of 7. I actually just moved back to the city about 17 years ago. When I graduated from high school in 1988 from Andrew Jackson Tigers. So shout out to all you Tigers out there. And I'm excited about being on your show today with you, Pastor.
Yeah, I'm excited about too. We're going to get to the great work that Bishop Williams is doing. But tell us about your family, man. Tell us about you have a family, your family, so we can get a little bit more personal about this, know about you.
Well, my mother and my father, they are from Jacksonville as well. Both of my parents were born and raised on the east side of town. So my mother and my father, both of them are going on to be with the Lord. I had 2 brothers, 4 sisters. So I grew up in a pretty big household. I think it was 9 of us in the house at one time. So 9 of us in one bathroom, but we made it. By the grace of God, we made it. But we had a pretty close family. My dad was a disciplinarian. My mother was pretty, like most mothers of this time. I was the youngest of 7. By the time she got to me, I guess they was a little tired. So, so I didn't get as much as my older siblings got. I actually played sports here in Jacksonville. I was pretty. I would say that I was pretty decent. I won.
That's right.
I was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Where I met you in the 7th grade. You might not know this. When I met you, that was my first year actually playing organized basketball. I never played Little League or anything. That was my first year. All of my experience playing basketball was at First Street Park. Yeah. And so, but the first year I played basketball, I won MVP 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. So I grew up here after school. I actually, I didn't know, like most teenagers, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after I graduated from school. I actually, when I was 18, I got in trouble at 18. I remember my father telling me, hey, get off that corner, boy. Get off that corner. That corner gonna get you. That corner gonna get you. And I was, like most young people during that time, it was the 80s. Everybody was hanging on the block, and end up, unfortunately, some guys threw some stuff down. So I want to just pause real quick to tell, the young kids, if your parents listening to you, and the Bible said warning comes before destruction. And so my dad told me, at the time I thought I knew better than him, and that corner ended up getting me like he said it would.
Yeah.
And then so I had a guy in my neighborhood by the name of Lester Williams. He saw something in me. He said that I was different from all of the people that he saw me hanging around. So he kept asking me to become a merchant seaman. And so I kept telling him, okay, I'm going to do it. And, it took a couple of years. One of my friends ended up being murdered. And I went to him and asked him, what do I need to do to become a merchant seaman? And so at the age of 22, I found myself in South Carolina catching a ship, going out to become a merchant seaman. So by the time I was 26 years old, I had traveled the world 3 times.
It's one thing that Bishop Harry was talking about his siblings. He had one sibling that I tell you was my favorite one. Her name was Harolyn. That was his twin sister.
That's right.
And we didn't make it just quickly. We didn't make the mention that he graduated from Jackson, but he was at Matthew Gilbert on the east side.
That's right.
And I had a lot of experience on the east side because I taught over Kirby Smith and Ned Gilbert. But anyway, just a quick story. I had his sister in my band, and man, I just fell in love with her. But I didn't know. Let me tell you how I found out that Harold was your sister. You got in a fight one day, and somebody said, came in the room and said, Harry out here fighting. Harold jumped up and ran out there, got all in the fight. I said, well, that's my brother. If you know Harold died and went on with the Lord. But I'm going to tell you, Harold was something else.
She sure was.
Boy, she loved herself some Harry.
Yeah.
But right quick, we used to call her bag lady. You know how we call her bag lady? Harold carried all her stuff in a brown paper bag. That was I tell you, that was the funniest thing. But she was his twin sister, and I tell you what, I just fell in love with Harold, and that's how I ended up meeting Harry. And I was teaching over to Matthew Gilbert, but I had to bring that in. I could not bring that in without talking about Harold.
And she loved you, I might add. She loved Mr. Pinckney. Loved him.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Well. Now let me ask you this. Now, after you got a merchant seaman, and you got where did you go? What did you do?
So after I became a merchant seaman, I actually came back home, and just one thing that I skipped over when I had graduated from high school, not knowing what I wanted to do, I immediately jumped into the fire academy. That was during the time where it was a big push for them to have hire African American firefighters. There wasn't enough African American firefighters, so I went into school off Stockton at their fire academy over there, and so once again, 18, young, hanging out all the time, I end up failing out of the class. I end up failing out of the firefighter class, and so when I became a merchant seaman, and I was on the ship, that thing constantly messed with me, right? Because we don't like to fail. We don't like to, I felt like it had whooped me, and so it was constantly on my mind. So after selling for a little while, I decided to go back, and I went back to the fire academy. Passed the fire academy. I went to get my EMT certification in St. Augustine, but even after that, I still couldn't get on. I still couldn't get on with the fire department, and at this time, I had decided that I was going to go to school. I was going to go to Tallahassee Community College, and I was going to transfer and go to FAMU. And when I was making my mind to do so, I had a friend of mine who now we work together. He had just graduated from Florida A&M with the construction engineering degree, and he had moved to Albany, Georgia. And he called me and he said, man, they're hiring in Albany as a firefighter. And so I opted to go to Albany, went back through the fire academy, got certified in Georgia as a firefighter as well. Okay. And so I ended up becoming a firefighter in Albany. Albany, Georgia.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good information. That's good information. I enjoy how you're telling the track that you have gone on. And one of the things I really enjoyed about that is that when you say you end up getting put out of the fire academy, it bothered you.
Yeah, it bothered me, man.
But you went back and you got it done.
Yeah, I had to get it done. It was no options. That thing, it just messed with me. Because I know that I had failed because of me. Right, I hadn't done my best.
You hadn't done your best.
I hadn't done my best. I was playing around. I was partying, having fun, hanging out, trying to burn on as the old folks used to say, trying to burn it on both ends of the candle. Right.
And it was an interesting. You should say that too, because I know there were quite a few guys that went to Kirby Smith ended up being firemen. Ernest Glover. Ernest, Robert Walker. It was several of them. Doing that time. Interesting. We were having that conversation about the fire department earlier. Now you see why I want to have this guy on
yes,
here.
Sir.
Now you see why I want to have this guy on here. That's another story. But tell us about your family now. You have a family?
Yeah. Now I'm married almost. It'll be 20 years. December 7th, 20 years. I'm married to Carmen Williams. She's an attorney. She graduated from Florida A&M Yale School.
All right.
And then she went to Thurgood Marshall Law School. I have 4 kids. My oldest daughter is Brittany, and my next daughter is Hope. My oldest son is at FAM, and my youngest son is Zion. My oldest daughter, she's a police officer. She went through JSO. And now she's in Clay County now. Okay. Yeah. And my youngest daughter, she's getting ready to go to nursing school. And my oldest son, he's a senior at Florida A&M. And my youngest son, he went to college 2 years. He's undecided exactly what he wants to do right now. So.
All from off that corner.
Yeah, all from off that corner, man.
All from off that corner. Sometimes there are things in our life we got to, there's some things we got to experience to straighten up.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I'm grateful.
Yeah, my mother used to always have a saying. She used to tell me every boot ain't out. That's old school talk right there. But she used to say every boot ain't out, but some boots is to put you in a better position.
That's right.
It may look back up, but she used to say that thing. Every boot ain't out, buddy.
That's funny you say that. my mom. I haven't released it yet, but I did a short book. Well, this is my third book actually, but I did a short book, and one of the chapters in there is entitled "I was looking for a job when I found this one."
Okay.
And my mom told a story. She used to work at University of North Florida. And but before she worked there, she had several jobs, and this supervisor actually used to threaten her and her friends about firing them. And so my mom said she had about enough of it, and she said she told the guy one day, she said, "Listen, let me tell you something." She said, "You always talking about firing us and letting us go." She said, I want to let you know this. She said, "I was looking for a job when I found this one."
That's right.
She said, "I was looking for a job," and so that's one of the titles of the chapters. I was looking for a job, and so it's just so, and it's about opportunities. Mm-hmm. The opportunities, they come and go. Then one person, not one person or one organization, nobody can stop you if you're determined to do what it is that you believe that God called you to do. There's always going to be opportunities, always.
That's outstanding. Now, you showed us, you given us an excerpt of your life and the good and the good and the bad and the various things that happened to you. Now, tell me exactly what are you doing right now? Because I called you Bishop Harry Williams. Yeah. So we need to talk about that. What are you doing right now?
Well, I as I said, I came back here. I was associate pastor at Grace Fellowship Christian Church in Atlanta, Georgia. I was there for about 8 years. I was the associate pastor as well as the youth pastor. And so 17 years ago, I moved back home. I felt the call that God was calling me. Long before I came home, I felt that pull. But when I was there in Atlanta, I had joined that church, and they was about 6 months, 8 months old. And I watched it grow. God allowed me to be instrumental helping the church grow. And I felt the pull to come back home, but I wanted to stay because I felt like I helped build this. I want to stay around. And so I stayed a little longer than probably that, I believe that God wanted me to stay. But nevertheless, after I decided, I told my wife, I said, the Lord is, it's time to go back home. And so we came back here 17 years ago. We started our church in Matthew W. Gilbert Middle School.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we were there. We were there for the first 3 years of our ministry. We was there for the first 3 years of our
ministry. You did in cafeteria?
Yeah, right in no, we were in the we was in the auditorium. Not the auditorium, we was in the the auditorium.
Auditorium, okay.
Yeah, auditorium. Okay. 3 years, man, and God gave us favor with them. And then we went on, we left, we had a storefront. We was in a hotel for a little while. And so now we have our own location on Jesse Spearing Street. There's a corner of Jesse and Spearing Street.
Well, it's an interesting story behind that. Pastor, why you act like you got all this information? Because you really need to hear this about where Pastor Bishop Church is right now. There's a little story behind that. Yeah. And why don't you tell them that story about that building?
So when we were when I first gave my life to the Lord in 1996, that was the church that I joined. It was called St. Joseph United Methodist Church at the time. So when I moved back to Jacksonville, they were having, I think, like 118th year anniversary, and they invited me to speak. And so I spoke, and one of the the gentleman there, he was a lay speaker. He was just talking to me about the challenges that they had with the church and how the United Methodist Church wanted to move them out. They had lost membership, and so So I told him, I said, "Hey, I would love to have this place." And I say, "Well, keep me abreast of what's going on." So fast forward, me and my wife was eating dinner on her birthday one year, and the following year, and he called, and so I told my wife to excuse me. So I called, answered the call. He told me what was going on. So I told him, "Hey, listen, when I get back in town, let's sit down and talk. So when I spoke with him, he and a couple of other board members, they told me that they were being forced out. It was being forced out of the church, and they gave them an option of either buying the church, joining another United Methodist church, or I forgot the third option. So I told them, I said, hey, listen, tell them that you all going to buy the church. I said, tell them you all abide. And I said, and what we'll do, we'll give y'all the money, and y'all give us the money back, and we'll give y'all the money. So they met with them, and when they met with them, they actually came with a quit claim deed. So when they came with the quit claim deed, they called me, and his wife left the meeting. Outside the meeting, she called me and she said, they want us to sign a quit claim deed. And I told her, I said, they want y'all to sign a quit claim deed? She said, yeah. I said, well, that means that they don't own the church. Y'all own the church, right? And I say, tell them that you ought to get back with them. And so they stopped the meeting. And so I became interested in knowing, like, how did they get control of this church from the beginning? So me and my wife went on this research hunt, just trying to find out, like, how did the United Methodist Church actually got control of that church in that neighborhood. And so we went downtown and public records. We went to finding all of this stuff about, the church and how they were able to get all of these African American churches and turn them into, United Methodist churches, the Methodist churches. So we began to, and we got their book of discipline, which they operate from, a book of discipline. So after finding out all of this stuff about how they got and the way they were doing the contracts, they had forgotten to do the contract with that particular church.
Okay.
And so we found the loophole, and we end up, man, and we told them, once we found out that it was their church and everything was fine, they did a news story. They had their church, and we told them, hey, y'all go on and have church. But their membership had dropped out. And so they came and told us, they said, listen, the stuff that you're doing in the community, if we were to sign anybody over the church, it would be you.
Look at that.
And that's how we got the church to God.
I think you need to know that. And there's another interesting part about that is that your parents belong to that church.
Yeah.
And
sure
and like I said, his sister went on to be with the Lord, and I came to the service
at that church.
I came to the service at that church, and years later now, their ministry owned that same church.
The same church
on the east side.
Yeah.
I thought that was just interesting information that everybody needed to know about that, and about we got a good capsule of what your history is like. So right now you didn't give us the name of your church.
In the Word International.
In the Word International. That's all right.
In the Word International. God spoke that when me and my wife had made that, we had made that transition. When I told her, I remember telling her we were in our place in Riverdale, Georgia, and I was coming down the steps, and the Holy Spirit just dropped it in my spirit. Like, we didn't research it. Wasn't anybody else had that name, and I just told my wife, it's In the Word International. I heard the Lord say, In the Word International.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, that's why I want you to talk. Now, tell me some of the unique things that you're doing in that. I'm telling you, you need to hear this, what they're doing now, because I'm from this perspective. I kind of have a little different perspective. I'm a East Side. Even though I was not born on the East Side, I have spent nearly 20-some years on the East Side.
You belong to us, Pastor. You belong to us.
I have spent 20 from what I call from Florida Avenue East Side to Phoenix East Side.
That's right. That's right.
What people don't know about Jacksonville, all the East Side is not the same.
Yeah, all the East Side. No, of course not. No, from the railroad tracks back, that's out east.
Yeah, that's out. You got.
Phoenix is east 21st. We call them 21st, but when you say out east, people know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah, so those of you who are listening right from Jacksonville, East Side is not just East Side; it's different parts. So, and I was privileged to know both sides of East Side, so I know people from both sides. Spent a long time out there, but the work that this bishop is doing over there is extraordinary, and I want you to. I'm not here to talk. I'm gonna let you tell him. I'm gonna let him tell you the work they're doing over there on the East Side for the sake of the Lord. Tell us about it.
Well, when we first came to the city, the Lord was pressing upon my heart about getting involved with the youth. And so what we did, I have a nonprofit called Men In and Out of School, MEAS. And so I went to the city and I wanted to obtain a park. And because I know that was the quickest way to encapsulate the youth. So I went to the city and I was inquiring about a park, and I was thinking about First Street Park. It's now called Flossie Bronson Park now.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, it's Flossie Bronson now. And and I remember Coach Anderson, who was there at that park when I was young. As a matter of fact, I just interviewed him recently, but he ran that park at the time. So I got all of these things, Coach Brown at Cuckoo Park. So when I went to the city told me that I couldn't get that park, that Powell had it. And so this lady by the name of Valerie Reed that worked for the city, her name is Valerie Reed, she said to me, I know another park, Cuckoo Park. And I said, Cuckoo Park? And I said, Cuckoo Park is open? And she said, yeah. I said, nobody don't run that park? And I remember that park because I played at that park as well.
Yeah.
Up under Coach Henry Brown. And so she said, I say, no, I don't have to go see the park. I would love to get the park. And she said, well, everybody who comes here always say they want to get that park, but they don't have their credentials. And I say, ma'am, what do I have to do? And so she told me what I had to do. She said, you got to have insurance, you got to have this, you got to have that. 3 days later, I was back in the office. So I went back and she said, I got to help you. And so we began to, we went back in the park. We had a lease with the city to run that park. So we was in the park for 9 years. We started off with one baseball team. We was like the Bad News Bears. My boys were small. So we had from 4 years old all the way up to about 13 years old on one team. Man, we went on by the grace of God, man, we ended up having as much as 10 baseball teams, 10 football teams at one time, 10, 11 basketball teams. We did, we had 8 girls softball teams. So I did it about 11 years, all while trying to build the ministry as well. And so after my sons had gotten up and they started playing sports in school, I ended up walking away from that, to support my sons, of course, but the work continued. When I came home, there was a list of things that I believe that I had felt that God wanted me to do when I came back to Jacksonville, and I wrote all those down, wrote all those things down. And one of the things were to build affordable homes. And so I had a friend of mine that I grew up with. We used to live together when I lived in Albany. He graduated from Florida A&M as a construction engineer, and he worked for a company called Styles in down south. And I kept trying to get him to come home, but I didn't have any money for him to come home and do what I needed him to do. And so I kept saying, man, I want to build these homes, man. I want to build affordable homes. I want to build affordable homes. A few years later, and so I kept telling her, I said, man, you're going to make them people shut that job down, because you won't move, and he was comfortable. He was getting paid a lot of money. He was comfortable there, and I couldn't afford to bring him home. So he ended up meeting someone here. He ended up leaving his job, ended up coming to Jacksonville, and we start building affordable homes.
So you're building all over the east side, because as I go over there, I see your signs.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
That's the thing that he's doing. East Side has been a remarkable place, unbelievable history, but it's also been neglected.
Yeah, it has.
And many of the people that lived over there, the elderly, they abandoned their homes. They stayed there until they got to the point where they couldn't support them anymore, and consequently, the community went down. It went down. A revitalization program needed there, but the city was not inclined to put money in that area at that particular time. But to make a long story short, that's some of the work that you're doing over there, not being community-based and then trying to enhance community. Now, let me ask you this. In doing that, what is your drive? I mean, what drives you to do that?
Man, I think, man, just knowing, when we came up, I was one of the fortunate ones to where, I was raised in a 2-parent home. We owned our home. My parents owned their home. And so most of my friends, they lived in the apartments around the corner, First Street Apartments. And so as I got older, and I started understanding affordability, I started understanding, what home ownership meant. I started understanding equity and how people, because, a lot of people want, they want to, they have visions of having a certain business, and they don't even know that their funding can be in their home. They can get a home equity home. They thinking, well, I can't get a loan, not knowing that you're living in your loan.
That's right.
Right. And so,
that's right.
So we had I want people to realize, how I felt when I got my first home. Right. And the stuff I didn't know, it doesn't feel good for me to know anything and nobody else don't know. Right. And I want them to feel the same thing. So I wasn't driven by money. Money wasn't even a factor. I didn't know that there was enough for everybody when I first started. When I first started, it was only solely for seeing people walk into their homes. Our first home, we could have sold our first home for $320,000. To make it work for the young lady, we sold it for $225,000. We didn't make a dime off our first home. Our second home, we could have sold our second home for $225,000. We sold our home for $180,000. We had to go to the closing with $9,000. So our first 2 homes we built, we ain't make 1 red cent. My payday was seeing those individuals walk into their home and have home ownership and equity as soon as they walk into the house.
That's important. That's important. But also, what I'm really focusing on is the mindset of where you are. Like I said, I'm much older than you are. I'm much older. Like I said, I'm in my 70s. But it is inspiring for me. For other young men to understand the importance of giving to your community.
Yeah, you got to.
Sharing where you came from, and also trying to see people do better in life. It doesn't always succeed because everybody doesn't want to taste the good fruit.
No,
they don't, and they think there's a game in it. And I got no problem in that. But what I do want to just really congratulate you on in your efforts that you're doing, simply because I have known you so long.
Yes, sir. Sir.
And I have known you since you were about 14 years old.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 13. Yes, sir.
13 years old. So I've seen the progression, and I've seen what God is doing in your life, and I always try to applaud that.
I appreciate that.
I always try to applaud that, because in that effort you're able to inspire others, and that's the next thing that I want to ask you about, your efforts to inspire others. Now, you talked about, I know, very involved in sports, you're young men and so forth like that, but let's go directly into your ministry now. What are you doing in there? I know ministry as far as the homes and building, and that's fine. But tell me, let's go on the inside of your ministry.
Yeah, inside the ministry, man. I remember when I first became a pastor in Atlanta. We had a lot of people that came from like corporate America who had never been churched, right? And they came in and they was excited about coming in and serving the Lord. They had never been churched before, right? They came in, they were just excited about just coming in and doing the work for the Lord. And that was so amazing to see. And so when I came home, a lot of members, the people that God sent me, they had never been churched as well. They had never been churched. They had never been a part of a church. So I didn't have to undo anything. Right. Because a lot of times when you come from different places, it's like jobs, they can say, well, you overqualified. Because a lot of times when you come there, you're trying to tell the people what to do. And so I really didn't have that problem. These were folks coming in, they were unchurched. And, I was focused on teaching them the word. Right. Because a lot of times, man, folks come in on emotionalism. Nothing wrong with emotions. All of us have those, right? But when people realize that, listen, that God, the Bible says, He hastens to His word to perform it, right? And so it's good for me to know what his word says, because the Bible says he hastens to his word. And so if I put his word out, so we begin to start building the people up with just the word and knowing the word. Our children's church, they just don't, we don't just babysit. Our children, they know the word. Our young folks, they know the word. We make sure they know the word, because if I give you the word, if you leave, you go anywhere, you can make it. You can go to middle of nowhere if you got the word. God gonna raise you up.
That's outstanding, and that's why I wanted to go deep into what you're doing as far as your ministry is concerned, and because I've been to your church a couple of times, and maybe share some information and how your how your people, the ones the sheep that God has given you, how they're excited about what you're doing in their lives, and that's the thing that, like I said, I've been pastoring for 40-some years, and when I go to a church and I want to see what the people like. I don't need to hear what the pastor preaching.
Yeah.
You know what the pastor's preaching. You look at the people.
That's right.
You look at the people.
That's right.
You listen to the people.
That's right.
You look at the attitudes of the people, and when you do that, you get a very good idea of what's going on in there. Are they happy? Are they growing? Are they strengthening? And I see that when I come to you. But not that I'm in there to critique it. That's not. But at my age.
You cut through the field.
Yeah,
you cut through the field. Yeah,
it's cut through the. At my age,
right.
I'm not that involved in about people preaching. I'm involved in what you're doing with these people, because the bottom line is, you on Facebook mean nothing. What about the lives of these people? What's going on with this person over here?
That's right.
Are they having
being
victory?
impacted?
Are they having victory in their lives? Are they overcoming their lives? And that's the part I was just really getting to, because I see that in the things that you're doing. And one of the last portions I want to talk about, what do you see ahead for what you're doing? What do you see for you? And for the ministry, not for you personally, for your family, because I know you got your family in it. But what do you see ahead for what you're going to do in ministry, and how you're looking at it through the scope of how things are in America today? What are you seeing?
Well, me personally, as far as the ministry is concerned, I remember, when you first started ministry, and I know that you probably can relate, being that nobody turned over a ministry to us. We were boots on the ground pastors, and so this was our first baby, right? Your first baby, you handle it with certain care. You do all of those things. You don't want nobody carrying the baby. And I remember going out of town and not wanting to leave, because I was the van driver, I was the worship leader. I did all of I did all of this stuff. I was the janitor. I did all of this stuff. And so I remember the Lord speaking to me, Holy Spirit speaking, saying to me that if a church cannot function without you, then when you leave, you're not doing a good job. That thing hit me. That if the church can't function like it do when I'm here, I'm not doing a good job.
That's right.
Right. And so I began to start releasing certain things to individuals. And so it was always, and we started traveling as a ministry. We got a strong marriage ministry. We got a strong singles ministry. And so we started traveling, started seeing other places, started going places. And God had put a couple of places on our heart. We were in New York, New Rochelle. So we started going there, doing outreach there. In New York, New Rochelle, we just was posting up on the corner with Hump for Jesus, Pull Over for Prayer, Jesus Saves, and people start coming. So God had put a mandate on our heart to start praying for that area. And so these are the different areas that we are looking to launch soon. New York, New Rochelle, Montego Bay, Jamaica, and Atlanta, Georgia. Right before the COVID, we was getting ready to launch in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And so that's where we're going to be going next. We're just trying to fine tune some stuff in the ministry, as me and my wife would go and set it up. And once we set up and God show us who he wants to be in our area, then we'll move on and go to the next place.
Well, that's outstanding, Pastor. I tell you the truth, I have really enjoyed this, you sharing your perspective. And what has been very, very enjoyable is that the road that you took.
Yes, sir.
I know there are things I know you still did share.
There's a ton of stuff.
There are things I know.
That mean I come back next time. I come back.
Yeah. There are things I know that you really did not share that I think that would be very, very beneficial, not only just for the community, but for other pastors. And what I've also found now, just sitting here talking, is that all of the things that happened that were negative, they didn't stop you.
No.
They didn't stop you, which is important in this day and time, especially when you're dealing with African American men right now.
Yes, sir.
African American men get discouraged. They blame other folk, and a lot of times you the fault.
That's right.
It is so easy to put the blame on. Well, they did this or they. Who is they? I mean, I was trying to find out who's. Give me the names.
Give me the names of they.
You're right. You talk about they. Who?
You're right, Pastor.
Give me the name.
Yeah, you're right.
What do they look like? What's their address?
Yeah.
Give me the names. They. Well, you know them. Them who?
Yeah.
You're
right, Pastor. That's one of the reasons why when our congregation had the pleasure of having you over to speak, they hear like what they've been taught. They hear that. You know what I mean? And they can relate to what you're saying because that's so true. Yeah. We unfortunately we put the blame on everybody else.
Everybody else. And you can't.
Never us.
Never us, that thing about they. And I want to ask her, who is they?
That's right.
What do they look like? What are their addresses? What are their names? What do they work? Well, they. No, that's too vague.
Almost
man.
Like the Joneses, huh?
Yeah. And African American men, and they are very vulnerable to that, and they becomes an issue. And they can never become an issue with that. So, but I tell you what, Pastor Bishop, I've enjoyed you talking and sharing with us. What I would like for you to do is just give us any parting words that you would like to say. Because I said, this is not about me. I won't, because when this goes out, this is going to be about Bishop Harry Williams. And it has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. I'm just thankful that we were able to create this forum so people can hear about you.
Yeah.
Hear about you. So what those are going to be listening. What are the final things that you would like to say?
Well, one of the top things I would like to say. I know our motto is in the word international is to God be the glory. Anything that we're doing, anything that we've been able to do, we know that we cannot do this without our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ. That's number one. The Bible says to lean on to our own understanding in all of our ways, acknowledge Him, and He shall direct our path. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you communicate with God going in. Don't try to get God involved on the back end. And last but not least, make sure that your audio and your video match.
That's right.
Make sure your audio and your video match. What you say and what you do has got to add up, and our love walk got to be right. He say that people would know that you are my disciples, not by anything, not by the houses I build, not by the people I ordain, not by my titles, not by the people I feed, the people I clothe, the people I may go see in prison. It doesn't matter how many ministries I have around the world. He say people are going to know that you are my disciples by the love you show one towards the other.
Amen.
If we don't have no love towards each other, all we doing, we just a bunch of noise. And I don't want to be no bunch of noise. I want to be known by the love I have towards my brother.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. I have really enjoyed this today. I know that our viewing audience, and once we push this out here, they're going to really enjoy that. And the name of the ministry, once again,
In the Word International.
In the Word International, located over on the east side.
East side, 925 Sperrin Street.
925. There is no side like the east side. I will tell you the truth. Don't make no mistake about it. I can tell you this from experience, buddy. There is no side.
That's right. I agree.
Yes, sir. There is no side like the east side. So thank you so much, Bishop, for coming. I think you have been a very delight, and I believe those that are going to be viewing this and listening to this is going to be very inspired. So God bless you, my brother.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Have a great day. And listen, we'll be back to you again with some great insight and some outstanding guests. Thank you for joining us today from Pastor Payne. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.